Hey gang, today we are taking a look at Transformers Beast Machine's Mega Class Tankor. Now, if you've ever seen the show, you will realize that this is not the version of Tankor that shows up in the show. In fact, it's not even close, and that's because they decided to go with a different model for the CG show as opposed to the toy. They went with the mini tank drone, or the basic class tank drone, as opposed to this guy. And I understand why they went for it. It was a much more simple figure or model to use. Now, this version of the toy is actually very cool looking, and I like it a lot. And it does have a couple of gimmicks that are pretty cool. Now, first thing I need to mention is that in this mode he is very, very finicky. And what I mean by that is he comes apart very easily, especially when you want to use his one gimmick, which I'll show you in just a second. But it's a good-looking tank mode. I like it a lot, and it really kind of reminds me of a smaller version of the Halo Scorpion tank. But that being said, I still like the tank mode. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the gimmicks. So gimmick-wise, he is actually full of gimmicks. First, we've got the launching missile, which doesn't go very far. And the missile is clear with a little fire blast at the front of the missile, which is pretty cool, actually. Then he's got a gimmick here on top of the actual turret section, which I'll move the cannon out of the way so we can see it. You see that eye? He's very much like a Zaku from Gundam, where if you turn this knob here at the top, that eye will actually move around a little bit, which is cool. So we'll center that. And then the other gimmick is, or another gimmick is, what you do is you take the thruster here at the back and fold that down like that. When you do that and you twist it, you actually turn the turret. Cool gimmick, I like it. And it will actually turn the eye as well. So if you're going if you're going counterclockwise, you see the eye moves. And then if you start turning the other way, the eye will move first, and then it'll start turning. So that's pretty cool, actually. So just get everything lined up again. And then the Viacon Spark is right here on the side. The last gimmick is rather interesting, but this is where the finicky part comes into play. What you have to do is take these orange bits and fold them up and over the wheels like that. Then you have to open up the front and you get these saw blades. The problem is, though, you have to be careful because it'll just start falling apart on you because these bits will form a certain part in robot mode. So then you start moving the figure and you get saw blade action. Which, actually, that's a pretty cool gimmick. So returning the figure back to its original vehicle mode, we'll start the transformation. And the first thing we're going to do is come back here and grab the rear tread and just fold it straight out like that. Or straight out and down. Like that. Then take the front of the vehicle and split it apart completely. So we've got the whole thing butterflied. And reach underneath and grab the part that the rear treads connect to, and fold that entire section forward. So here's what we did. So we get the treads back there, and then fold that forward, and that will lock into place. And then fold the rear treads down like that, and take the whole section and flip it around like that. And you can kind of stand him up. And then you can pretty much tell where it's going to go from here. Position the head, and then take the rear thruster and push it straight down. And it will actually go into a channel right here on the turret. And we can take these sections and fold them up like that. And those orange bits, just get them out of the way as best you can. And then turn everything around. Fold these orange sections down. Flip that part out. And then open up the claws, and take the cannon and flip it around. And here we've got Tankor in robot mode. Tankor in robot mode actually looks pretty good, but he's got a lot of problems. Not least of which being that the arms, his forearms, are so big, it makes him horrifically top-heavy, and you really have to play around with the figure to get him to stand correctly. The other main issue has to do with the legs, and the ball joints and the hinge joints there in the legs are very loose on my figure, and they have been ever since I first got it. Just going to have to tighten some of that stuff up. The ball joint's probably going to have to drop some, nail polish remover in there, and maybe tighten those screws up or use different screws for the hinges on the legs. But it's not a bad-looking figure. I don't like this. No, that's not true. I do like the figure. I think what we got in the show was much better, and I like the tank drone figure a lot better than this guy. That's not to say this guy isn't any good. I just like that other figure better. Tankor does have some posability, but not a whole heck of a lot, thanks to the weight of the arms. Now, speaking of the arms, you've got a swivel and a hinge joint there at the shoulder. Then you've got a swivel just above the elbow and a hinge joint at the elbow. And then you've got movement here for the claws. Legs, ball joints that are pretty loose, hinge joint at the knees, but that really doesn't do anything for you because you can't really pose them with moving knees. The face is not that bad. Very Tankor, obviously, but I prefer the one we had in the show to this. This isn't bad, but I just like the one in the show better. So, this figure, it's not bad, but it's not great either. I think, I don't know what to think about this guy, because there are some things that are very, very cool. Like, I like the gimmicks in vehicle mode, but the robot mode is lacking, unfortunately. There's not much fun to be had with the robot mode. All of the interesting stuff is in its tank mode. And that's really a shame, because I think this figure could be a lot better had the designers decided to concentrate on other modes. And transforming it back is also a bit of a fiddly process, because things need to be just right up front in order for everything to come together correctly. And if they're not, well, then you have problems. Now, like I said, the tank mode is a bit finicky, but you can deal with it. It's not that bad. Transformation is a bit annoying, but it's okay. Robot mode, like I said, don't really care for the robot mode, but that's because the tank mode is actually really fun and really good. So I normally leave this guy in tank mode if I do decide to display it. And you pop ball joints on this guy like nobody's business. That is another thing I have noticed about this toy. But like I said, it's not bad, but it's just not that great either. So if you need to get a Tankor in your collection, go find the tank drone. I would pass on this guy. He's not bad, but like I said, it's not that great either.